Okay, so a fair number of you wanted a Q&A, so I asked on the community tab thing on YouTube and then also on Twitter. I just kind of went with the ones that had the most upvotes. Obviously, I had to skip a few that were a little too personal, just, didn't really feel comfortable answering it, so sorry about that. But I think there is a good mix here of more personal questions and then also just, non-personal kind of general questions. Is kombucha really healthy? It's definitely overhyped. Most of the claims have not been even researched at all. It's just one of those products that people say can do everything, and we have no evidence that it can really do anything. But it's unlikely bad for you as long as it's prepared correctly. And it might have some benefits. I mean, there's probiotics in it, so I could try to do like a more in-depth video on that if you guys are interested. I think some of you asked for it on the thread where I was asking for topic suggestions. So yeah, let me know. Do you have a typical 9-to-5 job, or is YouTube your main income? YouTube is my main income. And what did you want to do when you were in college? I don't remember ever wanting to do anything really other than just being self-employed. I've been self-employed for a long time, since my late teens, I believe. And once I kind of started doing that, it was like, oh, okay. So it kind of was like, I don't really care what the job is as long as I'm the boss, as long as I'm not an employee, because I'm not a great employee. I'm just not. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of YouTubers are the same. They're probably not super willing to admit it. Anyway, yeah. So in college, I just kind of did what I wanted. I took philosophy courses and then I was like, okay, I guess I'm majoring in philosophy. Started taking some anthropology courses, really liked those. Like, okay, I guess I'm minoring in anthropology. I don't think I ever really had any intention of using the degree for anything, if I'm being honest. I had a scholarship to go, so it was really cheap, and my parents wanted me to get a degree, so I just kind of stuck it out for them. But if you have the opportunity to go to college, you probably should go to college. Please don't listen to these crazy vegan YouTubers who are like, no, just go on YouTube and you'll make money. No, you probably won't. You very likely will not. Please. Get an education. I keep on hearing people say that dietary cholesterol has no effect on blood cholesterol, so I'm wondering, does dietary cholesterol affect blood cholesterol? Yes, but for most people, not very much, which is why it is no longer considered a nutrient of concern. It's no longer considered something that you should be worrying about. But honestly, it doesn't really change much in terms of dietary recommendations because it's still recommended to limit saturated fat, and foods high in saturated fat tend to be high in cholesterol as well. Okay, so what supplements do you give your toddler? If any, when will you start them on B12? Any brands you recommend? So breast milk should have B12 in it if you are supplementing for B12, and formula as well, whether you're using, a cow-based or a soy-based formula, will be fortified with B12. And a lot of baby food is fortified with it as well, like the infant cereals are fortified with B12 and a bunch of other stuff. So in terms of supplements and stuff right now, our kid does get B12 mostly from soy milk, and obviously check the soy milk that you are giving to them, because not all of the milks are actually fortified. We use the Silk Original, which is fortified with B12 and vitamin A and vitamin D. Also, vitamin D, we use some vegan D3 drops. Iodine, I have a whole video on iodine and like vegan toddlers in particular. DHA and fluoride, because we are in a place where the water is not fluoridated because people are stupid. I'm sorry, it's just fucking frustrating. Is it pretentious bad activism to wear a shirt that says go vegan or vegan, etc., stuff like that? So I don't know, I just thought this one was really funny. I have no idea if it's bad activism or not. I don't think we have any evidence showing that it is. I would guess, look, if you're like a walking vegan stereotype and you're wearing a go vegan shirt, people just probably look at you and like, oh, okay, whatever. Maybe someone, I don't know, maybe you've got a really buff or athletic dude and he's got a go vegan shirt. Maybe someone's like, oh wow, you can be buff and be vegan, I'm gonna go vegan. No, I don't think that's really happening. I would guess that it probably doesn't matter very much, but I have no idea. In terms of my personal opinions, I've never worn a shirt that says vegan or go vegan or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know, it's just not something I'm interested in. I've seen a couple designs that I thought were legitimately cool, like just some of the like really, really cool font that you couldn't really tell what it was, and it looked really neat. I don't know. I just personally would feel weird wearing any sort of message like that, whether it's go vegan or something like political. I don't know. I'd feel weird doing that. But I mean, look, I'm someone with like 10 different shirts with cats on them, so I obviously don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. What are your thoughts on the zero waste, low wasting movement? It's cool. I mean, I can't imagine anyone being against that. Like, no, you're trying to waste less. You suck. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's awesome. You know, if people want to do that, if people can do that, I think all of us can do better at wasting less, right? I know I certainly can. What are your personal reasons for keeping your kids completely private? Sex, gender, name, etc. How was your life prior to YouTube, and in what ways has it changed? Honestly, the worst part of YouTube for me is like being known. I'm not going to say famous. I guess internet famous is what you say. I don't really know. I want to maintain my privacy and my family's privacy as much as possible. It's a weird thing, and it's something I struggle with pretty much constantly, because on the one hand, I hate this. Like, I hate that more and more people are like knowing who I am and watching my stuff, because just on a personal level, I hate it. But on the other hand, I like talking. I like making videos. I like doing this for the most part, right? So it's just it's a really weird thing for me. And I think a good number of YouTubers probably feel the same way. The second question about my life prior to YouTube, how has it changed? I'm not really sure how to answer that, honestly. You know, I've been making videos for several years. My life has changed a lot during that time, but not really because of YouTube. So, I don't know. I'm recovering from an ED, and my psychiatrist has suggested I stop being vegan during my recovery to get out of a restrictive mindset. How do you feel about people returning to a normal diet for health reasons? Definitely listen to your doctor and focus on recovery first and foremost. It is crazy to me, some vegans who will recommend a vegan diet to people with bulimia and other eating disorders. Freely has done this in the past. I can't imagine any professional doing that, like recommending a restrictive diet to someone who is struggling with ED. Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to focus on yourself first and worry about other people and other creatures once you've gotten healthy. How do you feel in regards to the claim that veganism kills culture, traditional dishes, clothes, etc. disappearing because of veganism? Also, do you see a future in which everyone is vegan, or do you see a future where there is ethical harvesting of eggs and milk and less slaughter of animals for meat and it's eaten on occasion? What is the future of veganism? Thanks. So, culture should never be used to defend any behavior, period. It cannot be. That's not logical. Like, just because it's something that you've always done, something that is tradition, doesn't mean that it is right or wrong. But I do understand people's attachments to traditions, right? I mean, we all have that to varying degrees, and it can make us really ill-equipped to handle certain things, to look at certain issues critically. Obviously, we have like people in America being outraged by like dog eating festivals and stuff like that. But then when it comes to our own eating habits and our own treatment of animals like cows and pigs and chickens, we just cannot see the connection. So I understand that people are attached to certain things, and I understand that it can be hard to like give up certain foods because you have fond memories of those foods, right? But we have to recognize that, again, that doesn't mean that there isn't inherent harm involved in some of those dishes. And this is another reason why having yummier, more affordable, like plant-based alternatives, and also clean meat, in vitro meat, lab-grown meat, whatever you want to call it, why this is so important, because having those things actually really be a thing so that most people can find these things and can afford these things and they're actual comparable in like taste and texture, then this whole issue of veganism, quote unquote, killing culture, like won't be a thing anymore, right? Because people will have ways to keep eating the foods that they love. As far as the future of vegan, I was thinking about this recently in terms of, again, clean meat. So like vegans who end up eating clean meat, clean eggs, clean dairy, whatever, like, will we still call ourselves vegan? Obviously, if in the beginning, when it's not even close to the norm, yeah, obviously the word vegan will still be useful. But what if we get to a point where every single animal product is clean, right, is produced via like non-cruel means, will the term vegan even be useful anymore? I don't know. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes mostly used by people who are vegan for health reasons, right? So they still do not eat any animal products whatsoever, no matter how they're produced, because they think they're unhealthy, right? But other than that, I think the future will be at least mostly vegan. We'll definitely have stricter animal welfare laws in place. Far more people will be vegan than they are today. But will we like have legislature where the killing of animals is actually illegal, like recognizing animal rights? I don't know. I mean, I can foresee a future where animals are still killed for food, but on a much, much, much smaller scale, right? And it would be insanely expensive. So, I mean, the only people who would do it or even want it would be like crazy people, people who just really want to rear animals. Maybe it's some tradition thing, people who really want to eat like slaughtered animals, again, for some like weird appeal to tradition thing. But I really don't know. It's so hard to say. And of course, I'm biased. I don't know if bias is the right word, but I mean, when you're living in a world where like everyone eats animal products, it's really hard to imagine a world where they don't. How will you deal with it if your children want to try non-vegan food when they get older? So this is something I'm just not concerned about. I mean, I pretty much expect that this will happen at some point, right? I think you're fooling yourself if you're vegan and you're raising your kids and you're just like, I don't know, assuming that they won't do that. I mean, most kids rebel to some degree, to varying degrees, right? And when you have something like this where you are restricting it, obviously you're restricting like alcohol and drugs, well, that is now an area where your kid can rebel, right? And so food is just another area where your kid can rebel against you. So I think anyone raising their kid vegetarian, vegan, or even just like healthy, you need to be prepared for that. I think there are ways that you can potentially lessen it. Like, I plan on being not overly strict at all about it. Like not policing what they eat outside of the home. What I'm really concerned about is just, my kid being a good person overall, right? And just being a compassionate person. What are 2 ways the vegan community could change so they could reach a wider audience? I think the ways in which it already is changing, honestly, which is number 1, focusing on really delicious food to kind of draw people in and to show them like, hey, this isn't that big of a sacrifice, right? And then 2, just engaging with better arguments as effective altruists. And I would say number 3, just like being nicer, right? And I think putting more of a focus on reducing animal product consumption instead of just, no, go vegan, right? And until you go vegan, you're a piece of shit. And I think this has been the norm like outside of YouTube for a while now. The issue really is just on YouTube. Unfortunately, we still have a lot of toxic like vegans and vegan channels on YouTube. How would someone who doesn't live near all the vegan options you have get started? And what are your thoughts on lab-grown meat? Would you eat it? I think transitioning is important, not just going, I'm vegan now, right? Because most people can't stick with that. And there are so many different ways to transition. I think it's just a matter of starting with something that you're really, really positive that you can stick with, right? Like it's really manageable for you. So maybe that's meatless Mondays. Maybe it's making a couple, 2 to 3 like vegan meals a week. Maybe it's making breakfast completely vegan. Maybe that's something that you really think you can do. Everyone is different. You just have to kind of be honest with yourself and again, like know what you can handle. And then from there, I think just think about vegetarian or vegan meals and like dishes, even side dishes that you really like. Obviously look for recipes and look at stuff that sounds really good to you. It's kind of obvious stuff from there, but I think the main thing is like, don't beat yourself up for not being able to go vegan right away or even like several months from now, right? I think we just get stuck thinking about how hard it would be to go vegan that we don't even get started, right? Like we don't even do anything because we just can't imagine ourselves being vegan, when maybe in reality it would be really easy to be partially vegan or even mostly vegan, right? It's just that thought of like never eating cheese again, never eating beef again, whatever. When maybe you can still eat those things just less often, and that's actually doable. So lab-grown meat, I'm super excited about the potential it has to significantly reduce animal suffering. In terms of personally, will I eat it? Probably not in terms of like poultry and beef and stuff like that. But I think I would be interested in a tuna. Now, I have not had tuna a decade and a half, maybe. It's been a really, really long time. But it's something I used to eat a lot of. It's an easy way to get protein. It's one of the only fish things that I ever liked. It's like tuna and like popcorn shrimp. Milk, I have no interest in just drinking milk. But like cheese, possibly, cheese was never a real safe food for me in terms of something I could just eat a little bit of and not like overeat. So it's probably something I should stay away from. But I actually would like a non-cruel alternative to like cottage cheese, but not a plant-based alternative that's not going to have protein. Like I want it to have protein because that's like why it would be useful for me. Cottage cheese is never something I really liked, but one of the things I don't like about a vegan diet is that it's really hard to have like sweet stuff that is high in protein. And that's honestly any diet, really. Like you can make a smoothie, and smoothies are fine with like protein powder or whatever, but I don't always want to eat a smoothie. Like I would honestly really like to have just like some cottage cheese and some fruit. That would be awesome. But again, I never really liked cottage cheese, so I might try it and be like, nope, not for me. What are your vegan Thanksgiving favorites? I'm a vegan noob and I've never made a vegan Thanksgiving, but I'm super excited to. So I really like the tofurkey turkey roast and the ham roast. I know a lot of people do not. They just find them really fakey and not like turkey at all. I mean, yeah, they're really not. I think the ham is probably better. I think more people would like the ham than the turkey one. The ham's newer. I think it's only been available for a couple of years or so. It's super good. I really like it. Yeah, but I'm probably in the minority on that one. I think more people like the Gardein roast than the tofurkey roast. But also, I'm not really trying to replace turkey because, to be honest, I was never real big on Thanksgiving food in the first place. Even like holiday food, other than like cookies, all the dessert stuff, and like mashed potatoes, anything potato-y. Yeah, I'm all about that. Honestly, my most memorable Thanksgiving, like my favorite Thanksgiving experience, my mom made fried rice, which I loved, and dumplings. It was all this like Asian inspired stuff. And my brother and I sat in the living room and watched Predator. So I'm probably not the person to go to if you're looking for like a traditional like Thanksgiving, but done in a vegan way. How do you deal with household pests, for example, mice? I've never had to deal with mice. Squirrels, we do have squirrels. Oh, we did get rats for a while. I remember at my parents' house. But in terms of like me personally as an adult, I've never had to deal with mice. We have had squirrels. We have them. They run around on our roof like crazy and like whatever. We just let them, at least for now. We do have quite a few spiders here that my partner deals with, and sometimes he does kill them if they're like really fast and they'll get away, and I'll freak out if they get away. He will, but like the slower ones, he'll sometimes just like pick up like with his hand and he'll put them outside. He's too vegan for me. Like I'm just not on that level. Who is your favorite vegan YouTuber? So I would say Needle Drop and then Jenna Marbles, but I don't think that really counts because they are vegan, but I don't watch them because they're vegan, right? So I don't know if that really counts. In terms of vegan YouTubers who have channels that actually focus on veganism, I've talked about So You're Dating a Vegan. I love that channel. Cheap Lazy Vegan is also awesome. Hot for Food, also awesome. What's your favorite YouTube channels? How do I stop eating dates? They're so freaking delicious, especially rolled in licorice powder. Oh my God. First, licorice powder is garbage. What is wrong with you? That's disgusting. Second, I would say my very favorite channels, Mega64, I've been watching forever. Lazy Pillow, I've been watching forever. Internet Comment Etiquette, I actually started watching a couple years ago, like right after baby was born, when I was like pumping and, struggling with my emotions and everything. And I came upon his channel and I just remember I watched like every video, and he's got a lot of videos. I even went back to like his original channel and watched like the old videos from like a decade ago. On Cinema at the Cinema, it's not a channel, but it is part of Adult Swim. That's one of my favorite things ever. And then probably Vic Berger. Again, someone I discovered probably a couple years ago from Super Deluxe. A lot of his really good edits get posted on Super Deluxe. But yeah, he's pretty amazing. And then I would say new favorites, Jenny Nicholson. She does some Star Wars stuff, which I don't get because I don't like Star Wars. But she also does, like, she'll read fan fiction stuff and just weird stuff. She did a great video on Beastly, which I'd never heard of before, which was incredible. She does a good job, like, with the fan fiction stuff. It would be so easy to come across as really cynical and mean, and she never does. Like, she's able to make fun of it without coming off like just a huge dick. And I don't know how you accomplish that, but she's able to do it. And then another channel I just recently discovered is Nyx Fears, and she just is so infectious. That sounds terrible, but I mean her positivity for just these awful movies is so infectious. I love hearing her describe these like really bad horror movies. I don't know, she's always so positive. You know, it's so easy to find movie reviewers who are not so positive and like real cynical and negative. And it's a lot harder to find ones who aren't, but still have good criticism. It's hard to strike that balance, right? Of being critical without being super negative. And I think she's one who can do it really well. Oh, another one I just thought of is ContraPoints. I've been watching her for a couple years now, actually. It's been a little while. And I think her recent videos, whether you agree with her or not, the quality and the creativity is just fucking off the charts. They are so good. What are 3 easy and affordable combinations of plants to create a complete protein? So first, you don't need to combine certain plant foods at every meal to make a complete protein. Eating just a normal, balanced vegan diet with enough lysine-rich foods will get you plenty of protein. But if you do want to make your meals like a complete protein, it's pretty easy to do it in terms of like costs, because just like the cheapest things that you're probably already eating if you're vegan are complete proteins. So, you know, a peanut butter sandwich, rice and beans, hummus and pita bread, bean soup and bread. What is your opinion on animal research for medical basic sciences? I ask since I recently got involved in a research team. So I assume just animal research in general, obviously for life-saving stuff. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. There are, of course, vegans, animal rights activists who are against it just completely across the board. I don't agree with that. I think there are certain instances where it is okay to perform animal testing. Also, I would say it might be a good idea for vegans or just people who are concerned about animal welfare to enter the field, to go into research, so that you guys can push for more like non-animal testing. This one is a bit more personal. After everything you went through during the postpartum period with your last pregnancy, how did that affect your decision in having more children? Are you more confident in your ability to handle things the second time around? So partner and I had already planned to have more than one, like from the get-go, before I even got pregnant the first time. But I'll admit it did make me hesitant for probably a good year or so after baby was born. Like, oh God, do I really want to go through this again? And then earlier this year, I got like insane baby fever, which was funny because I did not have that at all the first time around. Like, it was very much just like, we want to have a kid and we're in a place to do that. Let's do it. Whereas this time it was like, oh my God, I need to be pregnant right now. Like, I would look at pregnant women and be so envious and feel like, man, I want to be pregnant. Like, bitch, do you not remember how much you hated being pregnant? But yeah, like I said, we'd already planned on having another one. So we already planned on having another one around that time anyway. So it all worked out. As far as dealing with postpartum depression, again, yeah, I'm absolutely worried about it. That's kind of my, not my biggest fear, but one of my biggest fears. I said in my pregnancy video that I wasn't on any medication, that I had gotten off my SSRI before getting pregnant. Well, now I'm back on it. I literally just started taking it again after seeing my doctor just very recently. And yeah, I was just really struggling again. And you know, I can't let it get to the point again where I am having that so frequently where I'm not functioning, you know, especially with a toddler and while pregnant. So yeah, I'm less worried about PPD now that I'm on medication, but I mean, I'm still worried to some degree, right? It could still happen. And if it does happen, I mean, I don't think it's something you can really prepare for. And that's just because of my experience with depression in general. Like I said in my video where I talked more about that, for me, every time I'm having like an episode is what I call it, it's like it's brand new, and I feel like, wow, this is just me now. This is just how I am. And this is the true me, and it's like that every single time, no matter how many times I go through it. So I expect postpartum depression the second time to be the same, to not be any different, even though I've gone through it before. But hopefully not. And, hopefully I won't go through it, but it's a possibility. How can we increase the participation of men in veganism in a culture where meat is associated with masculinity and plants are associated with femininity? So I think, men who are traditionally seen as more masculine, vegan athletes, vegan bodybuilders, being out there and being seen, that's probably making a difference. And on the left, we are increasingly seeing compassion being seen as a positive quality for men to have, right? For everyone to have, regardless of gender. So hopefully the right can come to endorse that too. If not, then we'll just have to wait, for future generations who aren't indoctrinated to see compassion as like girly. How do you feel about people who happen to come across you in public and recognize you and saying hi? So this has happened a few times. I can probably count on one hand how many times this has happened. I'm not gonna lie, it's not my favorite thing. I said earlier, like the worst part about this is like being known. So yeah, obviously I don't really like being recognized. No one's been weird. Everyone has been super nice and super appropriate. It's always gonna be awkward for me. It just will. And I'm sorry to anyone who has seen me and like said hi. I'm sorry if I seem like really awkward, because I am like I am really awkward. So I'm sorry. It's not you, it's me. And the best for last, of course, this is the most asked question. What's your kale seitan recipe? Oh, so it's been a while now. It's definitely been over 2 years, I think, right? It's just become a funny little thing now. So I kind of feel weird even touching on it. I just kind of want to let it just go on as long as it goes on for. I don't even know if it's funny anymore, really, but I'm pretty sure I did acknowledge this in a video like several months ago, but maybe I didn't. So what happened? Let's see, I think I said in a video that I was going to share the recipe because I was eating this kale seitan and it was super good. I was having it on sandwiches with like avocado, I think. During this time, I was pregnant. I think I was fairly early in the pregnancy and started having food aversion. So we had some of the seitan in a like Tupperware container and I opened it and oh my God, the smell killed me. And that was it. I have not eaten it since. Like I didn't eat it then, have not eaten it in like over 2 years. We haven't even made it again because the thought of even smelling it being made, no. I don't even eat kale anymore. Like kale makes me want to gag. It's disgusting. So yeah, when it happened at the time, it was like, okay, well, I'll just wait, and make it later, like once I'm no longer pregnant. But then it was like, no, like even now, no, I have no desire to make that. It's probably pretty easy to make, like from what I remember. I know we used a combination of gluten and soy protein. It wasn't just gluten. We like blended up the kale with soy sauce and maybe some extra water. I'm not sure actually if we added extra water or not. But yeah, you're just kind of replacing a lot of the water in like a typical seitan recipe with the kale. And there's like nutritional yeast in it and yeah, I don't know. Sorry. So that's it for me. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for the questions. Subscribe. That's cool. Support the channel. Patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. And I'll have a new video very soon.